Hi, everybody, and welcome to 5 Minutes with John and Mark. John, you've blurred your background from your normal office, but I'm showing my background because it's not in the UK. So viewers have got to look at the plates on the wall and figure what country I happen to be in at the moment. I don't know if you can tell from that or from the office style that's around me, but it's nice to be somewhere out of the country for 3 or 4 days. It's lovely to travel. I missed it a lot. So welcome, everybody, and I'm just going to set a scene with where we're headed in this particular talk, which is about influencing without insisting, moving away from the command and control mentality to winning people around. So some thoughts on that. So just to set the scene for us all, here's what we do. Here's the pyramid that John and I refer to quite a lot, the need to establish a strong desire in the workforce. First, a desire to work because there's a good sense of well-being, a desire to work with the organization, then working up the pyramid to increasing levels of senior skill through to work we do with execs in culture build. So that's us. And John, we're on to influencing without insisting, and definitely generation-wise as well. It's becoming more imperative to avoid the sense of insisting and replace it with something else. Would that be your view on that?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think that a lot can be done without having to be said. You know, I don't think you need to necessarily be directive when it comes to these skills. You know, the soft skills are coming through and becoming more and more prevalent, particularly in the training world. I think they're talking about soft skills and emotional intelligence being the go-to skills for the next 10, 15 years. And I think that they're subtle qualities, and they're about human connection, human behaviour. And I think that's learning to understand other people and understand ourselves.
And we've got a number of tips. And I think the good leaders or the good influencers have always been good at this, haven't they? They've always been good at not insisting. They've been good at leading people to a conclusion that everybody wants, which is it's a lot more work, actually, a lot more patience needed. But it's a lot more effective. But I think you've got a tip for us, and I've got a couple of tips. You've got a couple of tips, so let's shoot on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been taught to, if you're in a training environment or you're in a meeting or something, learn somebody's name. You know, make the time to say their name, repeat their name. You know, I sometimes if I'm running training, I might even write down a little floor plan and put people's names where they are. I'm not particularly trying to influence them, but I want to create a place where they feel that I'm invested in them. And I think that once people hear their name being said, they know that you've taken the time to learn their name, they're more open to being influenced because they know that you're investing time in them, so they're going to invest time in you. So that's always going to be my first tip.
That echoes an experience of mine. 2 experiences that are contrasting. One is they're both within construction, and one's with a company that doesn't exist anymore, though it was very big. And this company that doesn't exist anymore, what happened on this one? It was an NHS project, and they had some bad news to give to the workforce to do with job levels, and it was done by email, right? And we got another example, which was a little better, where the person I knew at that time said, it was a he in this case, he went around every site and talked to people and got to know who it was, got to know their names, as you said, and then announced the bad news in person. And that the reaction was completely different. It was a collaborative, let's try and work this through, rather than bad news and an argument ensuing. So absolutely, learning people's personal situations, circumstances is now imperative. We can't remotely lead. So it's a good question for all of us leading people, that do we know the important people around us by name, and even further down the organization, by name, obviously.
Yeah.
The tip that I've come to is I've got a friend called Bob, and Bob's an ex-Marine, and Bob lives in Colorado, and he trained in the Marines. He trained sergeant majors. I learned a lot from Bob. Now, the sergeant major is basically the person that goes over the top with the rest of the troops. The colonels listen to the sergeant major's pragmatic advice. So he trained sergeant majors. So he's training people who others would follow to their death, which is a pretty good test of influencing. So I was asking him about it, and he summarized it so simply. He said, people have just got to want to follow you. It's not about telling them or insisting. It's about, I want to follow this person. And that's a real challenge to me. And I think the challenge to all of us is, do people want to follow us? Are we modeling? Are we showing by example somebody that people want to be like? And if we're not, all we're left with is insisting. So that'd be my tip. Model it and get people to follow. Think about how to get people to follow.
Yeah, that's a great one, Mark, because it makes me think of many situations that I've been in where, you know, leaders, managers, whoever they might be, you know, trying to get people to do things, but they're doing things. They're trying to get people to come with them by threatening, by using emotional blackmail, you know, by not understanding their personal circumstances, you know, but effectively they're not modeling emotional intelligence. And where I'm going with this is that we talk a lot about psychological safety now. It's a big thing. I've just written a little blog about it. And Google have identified psychological safety as a key variable to influence people and drive success in teams. So they said, if you're going to be a successful leader and you're going to have a successful team, actually the first point you need to look at is psychological safety, because here in psychological safety, people feel safe to take risks and make mistakes. And if you don't feel safe to make a mistake, then you've lost it. And people will not want to be influenced. In fact, they will withdraw. And for me, maybe that should have been tip number one.
Yeah, maybe it's a good tip. And it very much reflects the pyramid that we showed at the start, right? With the well-being as the foundation. People feeling free to be themselves, make containable mistakes, let's say, not frequent mistakes, but containable mistakes, and then move on from there. Then we can influence. That's great, John. And just to quickly let those of you know, those plates on the wall apparently are Portuguese. I'm in Portugal. Lucky. I'm very, very glad and grateful to be here for 3 or 4 days on a cheap flight for somewhere else to work. And that explains the different background. But thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you all next time.